Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Everton 24/7 report show. Lots of updates to bring you today, including one to my studio of sorts, a brand new scarf, which you can see behind me just up there, which I got from fansfavourite.co.uk, so be sure to check their website out for loads of brilliant retro football scarves and memorabilia. Quite fitting, really, that I got the Hafnia one, given the events of the past week with the release of the film, Howard's Way, which has gone down brilliantly with fans so far. So if you haven't seen that yet, be sure to check it out. It's available on Sky Store, Amazon Prime, and on DVD as well. So be sure to check it out, because from what I've heard, it's a must-watch for any Everton fan. I'll be sure to be doing that myself in the next couple of weeks as well. On to the show, and as I mentioned last week, the rumour mill's really starting to crank up now as we edge towards January, and given that we've been on the international break this week, it's been even more of an excuse for the news outlets to really start pumping those rumours out in force. And the big story for tonight's show has to surround our former director of football. Steve Walsh spoke out today and said the signings that got away during his ill-fated tenure at Everton included the likes of, well, most notoriously maybe Andy Robertson, who's now playing on the other side of the park. But he spoke to The Athletic, which is a very well-reputed now sports outlet, and he suggested Everton move for players such as Robertson, Harry Maguire, and the much-coveted starlet Erling Haaland, who's doing very well in the Champions League for Salzburg, scored against Liverpool himself recently. He said that he suggested all those players to the Everton hierarchy when he was director of football, and the club declined the chance to pursue those players. He said that Robertson and Maguire could have come to Everton from Hull for a combined 20 million, with Haaland also set to move to the club for around 4 million, only for that to be rejected by the club. Interestingly, he doesn't touch on any of his failings as Everton director of football or his infamous trip to Italy, which is very much ridiculed by the fan base now. The article itself does paint Walsh in a very favourable light. I think it recounts his success at Leicester as chief scout, and also goes on to finish by suggesting his services are very much still in demand. During that article, Walsh also laid into our former striker Romelu Lukaku, saying that when Lukaku left Everton for Man United, he warned Jose Mourinho about the player's character, saying that he was a big baby, and went on to mention that were he looking to sign a player, the likes of Lukaku and his close friend, of course, Paul Pogba, were players that he wouldn't touch. Interesting that he did consider Sandro a good option then, but certainly some very interesting comments coming out of Steve Walsh today, whatever way you look at it. So be sure to check that article out if you are subscribed to The Athletic. Well, certainly a very interesting read. Moving on now, and the other big news story of this week, of course, is surrounding Moise Kean. It started towards the end of last week when his dad said that he believes Keane's move to Everton was a mistake, and he urged his son to return to Italy, most likely to a club in Rome. Many fans were upset to hear those kind of comments for obvious reasons, particularly that so early on in Keane's spell at Everton, and many suggested Keane's Everton career could be over before it had even started. Well, not so it seems, because there was another twist on Sunday which saw Moise Kean hit back on Instagram at his dad's comments. He said, "Don't talk about my life when yours is not an example. I don't fear the hard times when the best comes after them," which is a very refreshing thing to hear from a young player who, it has seemed he's struggled to settle in England so far, but it does really show the lad seems to have a hell of a lot of character, and it's also great that he's prepared to ignore comments from his family members, which is, as we know very well, an issue which has plagued Everton in the past. The likes of Romelu Lukaku and Marouane Fellaini have been influenced by relatives in the past, usually in favour of leaving the club. So it's really pleasing to hear Moise Kean speak out like this, and it just makes me want him to succeed as an Everton player even more. If he does, it's clear we'll have one hell of a player on our hands, a very talented player, and a great character, it seems now to boot. So, best of luck to Moise Kean for the rest of the season. Hopefully he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and we'll see him really find some form at Everton. On to transfer rumours now, and interesting that we move on from Moise Kean to another striker who could be coming in. Maybe if Kean was to leave, this is a possible replacement. But the first rumour of the day is Marco Silva's compatriot, Portugal international Gonçalo Paciência. He's currently playing for Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga, having previously played in Portugal for the likes of Porto and Vitória Setúbal. He scored once in 2 appearances for Portugal so far, but his scoring record for all of his club sides is not really worth writing home about. He's only scored 9 across 1.5 seasons for Frankfurt, albeit he did spend most of last season as backup to Sebastian Haller and Luka Jovic. It's hard to see us pursuing another striker, like I say, given Moise Kean is very determined to make his mark still at the club, and there are 3 other players in that position doing battle for what looks like usually one place in the team. The other rumour today surrounds a relative unknown and another young star in the making, if many in Spain are to be believed. That is 20-year-old Ghanaian Mohamed Salisu, and he's a centre-back who plays for Real Valladolid. The Valladolid site, Puchera Fichajes, has speculated that Everton are one of the sides after Salisu, along with Newcastle, Schalke and Valladolid's La Liga rivals Sevilla. Salisu has been impressing in his first full season in Spain, having only made his Valladolid debut in January. He recently scored his first goal in La Liga against Eibar. Clearly there are bigger sides starting to take notice of Salisu, and he could be on the move sooner rather than later. I'd be surprised if he did move on in January, given that it's not even been a full year that he's been playing professionally for Valladolid. But it is possible that Everton are looking for another centre-back to fill the vacancy that we failed to fill when Kurt Zouma didn't return after his loan deal. And with Yerry Mina and Mason Holgate performing well together recently, it may well be possible now to allow maybe a younger defender the opportunity to bed in with the first team. It could be the case that Salisu is the man to fit the bill. In all honesty, he's not a player I've seen anything of myself as of yet. If anyone has seen him play who's watching, be sure to let us know what you thought of him. Drop us a comment below. And one last bit of news to bring you tonight, and we are ending on a very big high. Everton women won their first ever women's Merseyside derby the first ever women's Merseyside derby to be staged at Anfield. Lucy Graham scored the only goal in a 1-0 win. Her long shot caught out the Liverpool keeper Anke Preuss just before half-time, and it means that at the very first attempt, the girls have managed to win at Castle Grayskull, which is something the lads, of course, have failed to do for 20 years now. So hats off to our women's team, who are having a great season so far, sitting 4th in the league and setting the kind of example our men's team really ought to follow. So let's hope the lads can repeat the trick at Anfield next month, fingers crossed. But first of all, the lads have got to conquer Norwich City in the league this weekend, and we'll have plenty of content to bring you in the build-up to that game, so be sure to give us a subscribe to the channel, and make sure you give this video a comment and a like as well. As always, we like to hear your opinions, and that is that for this week's show. Until next time, thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.